So we picked up our camper from Wilderness. It's a Freedom 2, and they give you, just like every other company, a brief breakdown of what to do before you take off. But if you're pretty new to it, they don't go into that much detail. So here's a crash course video, something that I would have appreciated, and it's just not out there, or not that I could find. So crash course on motorhome, here we go. Specifically, we're gonna do the Freedom 2 model with Wilderness, but I'll try and keep everything a little bit general. When you take off, they'll give you a key like this, most likely. Looks like most European cars. Make sure you're holding the brake in and your e-brake's on. E-brake is very important. We'll get to that in a minute. Then you let all the electronics and stuff turn on before you turn the key. So you hold it for a second and it'll come on. You're either gonna be in automatic first or automatic neutral or automatic reverse. If you're parking downhill, you want to throw it in reverse, turn your tires, put the e-brake on, and then turn the car off. I've kept it in first most of the time when I've been driving it and parking it, and you can also keep it in neutral, auto neutral, but it's very simple. You can just flip it over and up to go to neutral, down to go to reverse, or up and back over to go to automatic 1, and then it shifts by itself, of course, or you can push it again to go to manual, which I did not do the whole time. And also there's this button here that is if you're going uphill. We actually never used it because we got surprised by hills a few times, but it helps switch the gears and you can hear the car really struggle as you're going up the hill if you don't use it. So then we have a GPS that is a tuner, iPod, rear camera, auxiliary, and settings. So I'm gonna throw it in reverse and then we're gonna look at the screen there so you can see that we are reversing, and it gives you a camera. Ours got muddy a couple times because it's real easy to kick dirt back up in there, so I had to go clean it off. So let's go on to something else. Now let's check on the waste systems. It all starts in the toilet.
No pooping.
This contains your toilet waste, also known as black water. So all you do is you push your key in here, you'll get a separate key. You put your key in here, you twist it, and then push it in, and it'll unveil this. Most places should give you gloves, and you're gonna wanna put them on. So you pull this lever right here, you lift, and you pull it out. Now at this point it's gonna be pretty heavy and full of unmentionables. That's disgusting. So be careful with it. You're gonna wanna be near a dump station. This morning I walked at about 10 feet, but be nearer to the station. So here you have a lever that opens this, but ours is clean, don't worry. Then you open it, point it, lift it, push this lever, and it will release the pressure, which will then drain all of it. It will come out before you push the button. Nobody told me that. Be prepared. So you screw this back on when you're done, and then you open this back up. You rinse it out with water. You put a little bit of water on the bottom. Toilet chemical, 1 capful. Then you close this back up. You make sure this is closed back, very important, so that it works with the toilet. Then you put it back in. Make sure it's secure. Close it, throw away your gloves. Next, let's talk about the water systems, which are the gray and fresh waters. It all starts in the kitchen. So any water that comes out of your faucet, shower, or sink will go into the gray water. Anything that goes in the toilet, strictly black water. This one, we'll need the hose, which is usually in this bag on the side of one of your compartments. All the hoses. Let's go over and use them. We're gonna need this small key again that comes with the motorhome. It's a lot easier. There's not a push button. You just turn it and open. Here's the fresh water, something we never use, but it looks like, I have no idea what that is. And then the gray water. The first thing you have to do is clear the gray water before you put in the fresh water. In this bag we have the wastewater tube, the freshwater tube, and the electrical, which we'll get to later. So for this one, we first need the wastewater. This one. And it should come with a L-wrench sort of deal, and the end of the tube that has clamps on it. Here we're gonna undo the clamps on our gray water. We're gonna take off the top. That's normal. We're gonna put our tube onto it, close the clamps, and then put the other end into the dump station. Very important before you turn the handle. Turn the handle 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and then it should come out. We had a normal dripping like this the entire time, but it's just sink water, it's not poop water, so it's not that big of a deal. And then you close it up. When it's done, this is attached, so it just hangs there. You unclamp it. Pull the clamps off, you pull it out, make sure it's not leaking, and that means it's still open. You put this back on, you close the clamps, make sure it's sealed okay, throw out your gloves. So now it's time for fresh water. We only had to use this once while we were out. Everywhere here has these really cool sockets where you just pull down and it should disconnect from the faucet, and then you just snap it into place up. This is really cool. So you just make sure this is in, you turn it on, and you put it into this cap here until it's full. Now that our fresh black and gray water is all empty, let's go show you the rest of the inside for the electrical. So this is the Freedom 2 panel for electrical. Let's get a closer look. If you want to check your water levels, you just press these two buttons on your control panel that's next to the electronics. This one is your fresh water, you can see we're full there. And this one is your gray water, which is your kitchen sink and your bathroom sink. Here is your water pump. I've always left this on, never turn it off. There are two batteries. One is separate for everything that runs besides the main car, and then the main car battery. So this front one is the main car battery. This back one is the 12 volt in-house battery. So you just press these buttons to check it. 13 is normal. 13 is normal. I think it's about a max of 14. And also if it gets down to 11, your 12 volt house battery, then it won't charge anymore. And of course it charges while it's driving. So if it gets down to 12 or so at night, because this is gonna stay on, don't worry about it. Just make sure you drive plenty the next day. To turn on or off the in-house battery, the 12 volt battery, you turn this button on or this button off. So you cannot run any lights or anything in the car without this button on. You keep the 12 volt battery on anytime the car is not on. If the car is on, make sure it's set to the off position. If I was to come in from just parking and setting up camp, I want to hit up the 12 volt, turn on all the lights and do whatever I want to do for the day, the electricity, the fridge, and then make sure they're both looking okay, and we're good to go. Here's our fridge, here's the heat control panel. So if we want to turn on our fridge, we hold the power button. I never turned this off until just now. You see all the blue lights light up. A is for automatic. I'm not sure if your camper will have this as well, but it will have either the electrical plug, which means you're plugged into the electrical at a campsite, the gas, or the battery. If I leave it on automatic, it switches between the battery, the gas, and the electrical as the situation occurs. So while I'm driving, the battery will come on, and then when we stop, the gas will automatically think it's on, and then the electrical comes on if it feels the plug plugged into the socket. These are your levels of the refrigerator, of course, 3, 5, cold. And if this button here would be blinking red, it means it has not found what it's looking for yet. Right now we're stopped. It thinks the gas is on, the gas is not on, so in a second, this should be blinking red, and then I'll press it, and then it'll stay on gas. For the heating control panel, it's off right now. You just hold it to turn it on. We have all these crazy, you have to be a scientist buttons to figure it out. It's not that difficult. It's just a turn knob, and when it's on the van blinking, that means it's your central heat inside. So you click it, and we have it on 30, which is the highest it can go, but it was off. We're not at 30. So you turn it down to all the way off, or you turn it all the way up to 30, depending on what you want. That just turned on because we don't have any form of energy going to it right now. Then we hit the button again, and scroll right, and that's how our water heater. If you click it, I just left it on eco mode the entire time because we never showered in the camper van. We either used our Epic wipes or showered in a powered site. So you can also turn it to hot or boost if you want to have really hot water. This needs to stay on at night if you're here at winter, or else your pipes will freeze. And eco, it lasted us our gas lasted us 10 days with it just on eco, so don't worry about that. The next button is whether or not you want this to work off of gas, a mixture, or electric. The only ones we used were gas when we stopped. We never used the mix, or electric when we were hooked up to a power site. If we wanted it to be really hot in here, we used electric too, which provided more electric. So then the last one is the fan. which is how high you want your central heat to go in here. I can't turn it on right now because I don't have an energy source, but it either says off, eco, high, or boost. Eco will just gently heat the area. High will kick it off and just make it go full force, or boost will be extra full force and it will be hot in here in no time. So we're gonna turn it off again. These are all timers at the bottom. We never use them, but I'm pretty sure you can set it up to come on at 5:30 in the morning or set to a certain temperature whenever you want to get up. A handy feature. Hold to turn off. So when we stop and we want the heat to turn on, the gas to cool, or you want to cook a little shrimp on the Barbie here, then you need to turn on the gas. Let me show you how. Here is your LP gas storage, which is liquid propane, or propane I know. So you just stick your key in, you turn it. Here are 2 gas bottles. This one that's hooked up right now is off, and this one is not even connected to anything. This one's for your barbecue if you have one, or an additional backup so you always feel safe to have heat. And so to open it, you just turn it to the left, make sure it's secure, make sure you don't smell any leaks. To close it, you turn it to the right. And if you run out, it's a pretty simple, you just loosen these and switch the tanks. When you're driving, the first thing you need to do before you start the car is make sure your tank's off. Very important. There's usually a checklist on the windshield, but keep it in your mind, no gas while driving. If you're lucky enough to stay at a powered campsite, which if you're traveling more than, let's say, 3 days, then you'll need to, you want to go into your water tank. That's right, the electrical and water are together. Make sure you have your cord, looks like this, and it'll have 2 sides. One the male, one the female. There's a flap here where you can put it up through, or you can leave it like this. Highly recommend you put it through so that you can close your water and electric. You just make sure the plug matches up. Snug. The other end, there'll be a very obvious electrical pole at the powered site. You just plug it up, make sure the switch is on, there's a breaker on the pole, and you're good to go. When you're plugged into the powered site, you'll need to have your 12 volt on, and this little light on the electrical socket will be on as well. This means you're successfully plugged in and the electric is running to your van. You still need to have the 12 volt on to run everything, but it'll work off of the powered site. You'll want to be on the electrical on the fridge, which is the plug, and the plug as well on the heat. You should be using no gas, and your gas should be turned off while you're plugged into the powered site. Where to camp? I am a planner, so this one's hard for me. When you drive here, you don't need to plan anything. You just need to have the rough route of where you need to go, and don't worry about it, because you never know how much you're going to drive per day. You never know the weather conditions, so just show up, make sure you have a solid map, make sure you have your route, and make sure you have the Campervan app, which is this guy. It shows you all the campgrounds, whether they're freedom camping, paid camping, low-cost camping. It gives you deals if you want to go to one of the powered sites. It shows you Wi-Fi, dump stations, LPG refills, and the best thing about it, you can download it so that it's all offline. If you're in the middle of New Zealand and you don't have good service, you don't need it. You can find a camping site without internet. Wilderness also supplied us with this camping directory, a map with a bunch of dots on it that had freedom camping only, and also like frenzy spots where you can look up cool things to do in those areas. This book has all the freedom camps in it. Some of them were not on the Campervan app. Amazing book. We're millennials, we don't go, oh cool, you gave us a book with the Campervan. But oh cool, they gave us a book. We use this every single day. 2 of the coolest sites we found came out of this book. And that wraps it up. This is your crash course for a camper van. Good luck guys, have fun in New Zealand, and just don't plan and be adventurous.